What's up, family? Welcome back to another episode of the One Fourth Careers podcast. I'm Xavier, your host, and I'm here with Jehron. Jehron graduated from Cornell University with a Bachelor of Science in Computer Science. Now, Jehron is the founder and CEO at ColorStack, a technology nonprofit that's cultivating the strongest cross-campus community of its kind to deliver community building, academic support, and career development opportunities at scale. ColorStack's mission is to increase the number of Black and Latinx computer science graduates that go on to launch rewarding technical careers. Jehron is also on Coding It Forward's board of directors, another nonprofit helping to encourage computer science graduates start careers in the public sector. Welcome to the pod, Jehron. How's it going, my man?
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. How's everything going your way?
Everything's good, man. Life's good. It's we're getting some good weather here in New York before our winter, so trying to just take it all in.
Enjoy it.
Yeah.
Yeah, trying to enjoy it for sure. I'm in Ohio,
Hmm.
so we're also trying to do the same. We're kind of counting down our days, and every
Yeah.
time we have like a day in the 70s or something like that, we're like, man,
Yeah.
let's really enjoy it while we can.
For sure.
Awesome, man. Well, super excited to have you on the pod. Would love for you to start out by giving the audience a little bit of background on yourself.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we'll try to keep this brief, but so I was born in St. Thomas, one of the U.S. Virgin Islands. As a fun fact, I didn't grow up there, but we moved to Brooklyn and then out to Long Island in New York um, shortly after I was born. And then in high school, I started my first business fixing phones. And so that was kind of a pivotal moment in my journey where prior to that, I didn't really care about school. I knew I was always good at math, but like I didn't see any reason to like put much effort into it. I was more interested in sports and other extracurriculars. And then once I started my first business in high school, I realized that there was opportunity outside of just entertainment and sports, as most young, especially Black kids, I think and kind of see as opportunity for themselves. Um, so fast forward, applied to Cornell, got in. Only school I applied to, also another fun fact. And then spent my 4 years there, studied computer science and paying it forward, lifting others as I climbed through the journey of becoming a TA, doing well in classes, getting the internships, and eventually getting a full time job offer. And then I turned that down to start ColorStack instead, where today we help over 12,000 members, undergrad and alums at this point, um, choose computer science, stay in the major, complete the degree, and get a job.
It's amazing. That's amazing. Appreciate you sharing that.
Of
Well, our
course.
first segment here at One Fourth Careers podcast is called the Step Back. So you're in the New York
Perfect.
area. You already are familiar with the basketball scene there. I know runs
Yes.
rampant. So we're
Yes.
gonna hit like a step back, man, on the court. And it was great that you mentioned some of your upbringing and starting a business so young, just being in high
Mhm.
school. I'm curious during your adolescence, what did you want to be growing up, and did that change at all?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, even just a step back reference, I went to the number one high school for basketball in New York State, Long Island Lutheran High School, Lou High. They actually had, I think this year they're like the past few years they actually been top 10 in the country. So I was really in that space of sports and where that could take me. So I would say in middle school, I was actually more interested in becoming some sort of like either a rapper or some sort of entertainer, and then that died off a couple of years into that. And then high school, I went all in on basketball. So I was like over the summers working out once, twice a day, joining AAU teams, and obviously playing at least for the JV team at my high school. And so I saw people who um, were getting D1 offers, Indiana, UConn, even Tobias Harris went to that high school, and like it was just a culture of like, wow, like if you do well at this school, you're likely going to be at least be well positioned to be pro, right? Whether in the U.S. or overseas. So I was on that train for a while where I just thought like this is what it's going to be for me. I'm going to put in the work. And what happened was basically as someone who has the work ethic that I do and um just the drive and ambition that I do, after putting in so much work, I started to like think about like, wow, like it's really not translating to the court, right? Where, I mean, it was even a joke at some teams that I played on where I was just like a practice player. Like I can work out, I can do all the drills, I can do everything really well, but once it was time to perform on the court, it never really translated. And so I started to think like, dang, like maybe this is not for me. And so right around that time was when I started um, my first business, and that came out of necessity where I couldn't do my research paper because my laptop literally the screen broke, and so I fixed it myself because I didn't have enough time to or money to get it fixed from Microsoft or Dell or whatever. And that moment was when I realized, when I started to think about, okay, how can I do this for other people? And I started offering as a service and getting revenue and having customers. And within like 2 to 3 months, I was like, oh, okay, basketball is not for me. Like I'm a business person. Like I'm a founder. I'm a builder. I want to solve people's problems and create some sort of economic model to support that. And so that junior year into senior year of high school was when my ambitions and what I thought I wanted to do in the world changed.
That's dope. That's dope. Talk about a story
Yeah.
of resilience and hard work and
Yeah.
kind of finding yourself. I find those so beautiful being a person where I didn't quite know what I wanted to do or that often changed. And you have those
Mhm.
moments where you reflect and you kind of ask yourself, where am I going? And
Yeah.
hearing those wonderful inflection points that others have experienced on when they found an answer or they
Yeah.
identified a new direction, it's always really cool because I think through life, we have a lot of gratitude for those moments
Yeah.
because
For sure.
maybe very seldomly are you planning when that's going to happen. Oh, I'm
Hmm.
Jehron. I'm working hard for basketball. In a couple years, I'm gonna, change my interest, and I think I'm gonna
Yeah.
pivot to business. Like we
Yeah.
don't plan it out; it
Yeah.
happens, right? So I think when we reflect on those moments, we're so grateful for them. We oftentimes wish that they they,
Hmm.
they had come sooner, just because
For
we're
sure.
so appreciative for that discovery. And I
Yeah.
just find it amazing, kind of how you mentioned that going to a top, basketball school and just how you found your way. I think that's the stuff that gets me real juiced up of like, yeah,
Hmm.
another
Yep.
story that I'm sure so many people can connect with.
Yeah.
But that's just the first segment, man. We have so much to dive into,
Yeah.
but I love the richness that just that first segment provides and learning about your interesting past and background and all that stuff. So, pivoting more to the present, you are a founder and CEO. Like,
Hmm.
I celebrate you alone for just being able to say that
Yeah.
formally. So kudos to you for all the work that you've done. What is it like being
Yeah.
a founder? That process of founding an
Hmm.
organization, something that is serving others. What
Hmm.
is it like kind of founding that and all the blueprinting that goes into that, transitioning it into reality? And then what is it like
Yeah.
kind of operating like as a
Yeah.
CEO day to day? Sounds like a lot of
Yeah.
responsibility.
Yeah. No, I appreciate your distinction of the two because that was my first part of my response where it is very different. Being a founder is very different than being a CEO. Um, Being a founder is from 0 to 1, and being a CEO is from 1 to infinity. And I think that being the founder of ColorStack was much more natural, much more easy for me because I'm a natural problem solver. I'm a computer science grad. Been worked on software and product and like have founded things in the past. So like turning an idea into a concept, I've I would say I'm a professional at that. Like I'm a professional founder, so to speak, where I can take a concept and at least get us to, a couple paying customers or the V1 or something worth putting out there commercially. And so that part of the journey has been easy. I mean, it's harder when because this was the first time that I was doing it in a professional way, meaning running a full business that had other stakeholders, right? So we have a board, we have donors, we have partners, we have employees, and money's involved, and all these, and legal frameworks are involved because we're a 501(c)(3). So this was a very different founding compared to like founding a club or a side project in the past or a solo business. So that's been challenging, but the reason I'm still here is because of that persistence and how much I enjoy a challenge, no matter, how many times I get knocked down from a mistake. I'm, always ready for the next challenge the next day. Um, I think the difference between that and being a CEO though is that as a founder, it's there's less structure and there's more flexibility, and things are more yeah, I say flexible, dynamic, and you can kind of just move and change and do things very quickly, very haphazardly, like as you think you can do. But once you start having to become a CEO, and I think that change happens when you're honestly managing more than maybe 4 or 5 people, like when you really have a team, then you have to become a CEO, and that's being a people manager where you're dealing with multiple different people and their opinions on how to get things done and their strengths and their weaknesses. You're dealing with performance, you're dealing with strategy, you're dealing with budgets, right? There's less of the actual work that you probably set out to do as a founder is what you do in your day to day as a CEO. Your day to day is way more quote unquote boring, um, but that's just what the role transitioned to, and it really becomes less about what you can do with what you can do with your hands, and what you can do with the team that you hire. So the easy kind of analogy is that as a founder, you are kind of pushing this kind of cart or car, and trying to make movement. But as a CEO, you're actually, you know, the captain of more of a ship, right? You're not actually rowing the boat or pushing the car. Like you're actually the captain directing many different people and many different components, kind of guiding them in the right direction, make sure there's fuel, making sure everybody's fed, making sure that they're all working towards the same mission. So it's so different, and I think that I think a lot of people want to be the CEO before they want to be the founder, but they don't realize what the difference is.
Mm.
So yeah, lots of I don't want to ramble too much about this, but like lots of learnings in the journey of being a founder and CEO, and what the differences are.
Yeah, I love that. Tapping
Yeah.
into being a founder, what was
Hmm.
that journey like? How did you get to the place where you said, "This is a problem that I think I can solve,
Hmm.
and I want to
Hmm.
formalize it. I want to
Yeah.
create, this org that can
Yeah.
sustainably solve this time over time for a large group of people."
Yeah, I think this is related to my comment about a lot of people want to be the CEO before they want to be the founder. Um, and by that I mean that founding something is more about solving a problem and doing things that don't really scale, that aren't that sexy. It's just like you're trying to solve a problem for a handful, maybe even one person, right? And you're trying to build this concept and prove this concept. And it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of effort, it takes a lot of trial and error. And so when you the point at which that shifts is when you the point at which that shifts in mentality of someone who's trying to start something new is when you're starting to think about the end product, being the CEO of something that's already working. But there's actually a bunch of time that it takes to figure out the thing. And so for me, it wasn't that I wanted to be a CEO of a nonprofit that's serving this many people and has this many employees and whatever. It was that I wanted to solve the next biggest problem on my journey of caring about Black and Brown computer science students, right? So at first, I solved the problem for a friend, and then it was a friend of a friend, and then it was friends of friends, and it's like 10, 20, 30 people now. And then I built the club, the student-led club that I was working on at Cornell, right? So that's serving hundreds, dozens to hundreds of students. And then people start reaching out saying, hey, we need this club on our campus. So I'm like, okay, cool. We'll go figure out how that will work. And at that point, then it's like there's enough demand from enough students from enough campuses where it's like, okay, we can turn this into a national organization. So at no point down the line until it was the logical next step was I actually thinking about building what ColorStack is today. It was all about just like being a founder and just solving small problems that progressively get larger.
Yeah. That's incredible. And would you say from the CNO standpoint, was it just like a
Mm,
natural transition into that role? Did you potentially have exit points of maybe I won't be the CEO, like I don't have to be the
mm,
CEO, I could be in an advisory role, or I could,
yeah,
fill a different role on the leadership team, but from an operations
right.
standpoint, I want someone else to drive this while maybe I actually step out and pursue
Yeah,
another career. How would you describe
yeah,
entering into the CEO position, what your options were, your thinking, and so on?
yeah. Yeah, it's a very good question. That's a question that I'm still, you know, thinking about even today because I care so much about ColorStack and its mission and the students that we're serving today and we will serve over the life of the organization that I would never want to be in between us and where we could be. So it's been it was very clear in the first 2, maybe 3 years, call it, that I am the best person to found and run this org. But to your point, if 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 I conclude that actually no, like I'm just a founder kind of 0 to 1 guy, and maybe I'm not great to be the 1 to infinity guy who's like iterating on something that's like scaling something that's already been figured out. Um, that's a reality that I'm also open to and okay with, right? But that's like it's very hard to tell thus far. Like it's not a clear yes or no right now, but that's something I think about a lot, and I want to make sure I'm never holding the color stack back, right? Because you have scenarios where, as a founder, you want to just stick around because it's your thing, and you sticking around over the long term, it has diminishing returns. It's actually hurtful to the org for you to be around because you're still in founder mode where you're trying to get in the weeds of everything. When what the org really needs is a CEO that's going to hire 5 lieutenants right under them that are actually the best in their individual departments. That's going to take the org to the next level. So I think it's a great question. It's something that you know the longer that I'm in this seat, the more I think about just to make sure that I'm not getting in our way.
Yeah, I love the leadership, the focus on leadership and
Yeah.
the place where that comes from, where your response wasn't about you and
Hmm.
what I want for myself. It's as a leader, how can I ensure that these people, this infrastructure,
Yeah.
the recipients of this impact are in the best position possible to continue to grow and those opportunities can grow. So extremely
Yeah.
admirable. And I'm
Appreciate
curious
it.
now, maybe in addition to leadership as being a listed trait or even a
Hmm.
skill, dare I say,
Hmm.
how would you describe the skills needed to successfully found an organization? And maybe some of the
Hmm.
skills that you haven't mentioned already to be a successful CEO from your experience?
Yeah, really good question. I think on the founder side, um, on the founder side, you really, if you're, and I'll say this, if you're a solo founder, like this, all my answers are going to be solo founder, solo CEO. There's a
Mm,
difference when you have co-founders because you can kind of come together and bridge those gaps. But as a solo founder, you need to be good at sales. And there are in sales, there's different types of what's it called archetypes of a salespeople, right? You have, I
mhm,
think, the only 2 I can remember are, like, one is, like, or I think maybe there's 3. One is, like, the brute force salesperson. They're gonna be the type of people where their story is they emailed 1,000 people, and, like, that's how they get stuff done, by just pestering and annoying and just doing the work, right? And it's
mhm.
like it works for some people, right? I mean, there's one shout out to uh, this other founder, I'm blanking on his name, but he basically emailed this CEO. like once a month for like every month for a certain period of time. And eventually he responded and made an investment. Um, Destin Bell. He was just on Shark Tank. I don't know why I blanked on his name, but that's a type of salesperson, right? Like you're the more um, get it out of the mud. Like I'm gonna just like grind.
Yeah,
Then you
persistent.
have people, yeah, persistent. Then you have the people who are process people. So they have a very clear way of doing things that just works and that system works, no matter what you input into it. And then the third group is like, or third of probably many, but the third archetype is just a Rolodex type person who just is really good at networking and just has a bunch of people that they can call up already. So no matter what environment they're in, they either know people that will be relevant or can reach out to people to get those intros. And so I think for me, I'm definitely the last group, that last archetype where I just have been building this network over time. And especially as you run a community too, and then you have this like natural network where people that you can tap into. So without sales as a founder, it's very hard to get anything done that's required to be a founder because you have to sell people, you have to sell a person to on buying your product that's probably half baked at best, right? So at best, it's a half baked version of what they really need. You have
Yeah.
to convince them to work with you. So that's one thing. You have to do that multiple times because you're not going to have it perfect for the first 10 customers. And the second thing is you got to or there's three things, right? The second thing is you got to convince people to help you when you can't even afford to like pay them what they're worth, right? In cash at least, right? So you have to convince people to come and join the mission and do work at a very early stage for something that may not work. And then the third thing is you have to convince, especially if you're a nonprofit, is investors or funders to give you money before you do anything, right? Because a customer, they're going to pay for something that you already have. An employee will still, if you, as long as you're paying them, they know they're going to get paid. But then the investor or the funder, they're kind of doing it before anything happens. So they're taking the most risk, and you have to sell all three of those people at the earliest stages. Um, so without sales, I think you can't really get much done. If there's one thing that you should have, it's sales. I think if you just are able to be technical and build things and you don't sell it, then you're just building stuff for nobody. Um, so that's my observation of what you really need at the earliest stages. And then second, to your point about CEO, um, excuse me, to have, I think he's super humble and just not full of yourself. Like it's just like I don't, it's very hard to be a very successful and just well respected because you could still be successful by treating people poorly, which is unfortunate. But like to really be someone who over the long run is going to be well respected and rewarded for their service in any capacity like this, you have to be humble. You have to be always challenging your own assumptions and be ready to like change your mind. And you have to be able to understand things quickly. um, you're going to be working as a CEO. You everything reports into you, so you have to be able to context switch from marketing to fundraising to product to strategy to ops in a day. Like I've had meetings today that were all over the place, but I have to be able to be at the high level and then go deep into an HR thing or go deep into a program thing and then come back at a high level trying to piece all those together and come up with strategy, right? So yeah, I'd say those two things. I mean, if you can really be good at sales, you'll be a great founder. And if you can learn things very quickly, and be super humble about it, like you'll be a great CEO.
That's dope. That's dope. At One Fourth Careers podcast, we're giving CEO advice over here.
For sure.
No, I love that. That's dope, man. Well, I'm also curious along your journey for other
Hmm.
people who aspire to establish organizations, formalize their ideas, turn the concept into
Yeah.
reality, and be a salesperson and ultimately kind of establish these orgs and whatnot. And for folks who are wanting to be a CEO one day, they're wanting to acquire those skills that you mentioned and ultimately kind of climb the ladder and operate and be the captain of the ship, if you will. Are there any
Hmm.
organizations or associations that were a life source for you as you were along these journeys where you were
Mhm.
able to acquire inspiration from fellow founders.
Mhm.
You were able
Mhm.
to be a part of organizations that maybe prepared you to really formalize your vision for ColorStack. So this
Mhm.
can maybe be more organizations that college students can tap into to
Mhm.
help them along the way, or this may just be
Mhm.
once you got into the thick of it,
Mhm.
organizations you were able to lean on, networks you were able to lean on.
Good question. I mean, I've taken a couple of the entrepreneurship classes at my alma mater. Like that was super helpful just to like in a very low risk way, like still test out the process of founding an organization. Um, but ultimately, I think that like founding something doesn't require any formal education at all. I think really what you need is to be in community with people generally, no matter what the through line is. It doesn't have to be about a bunch of founders, but as long as you're in community with people, it'll help you grow your network, test your hypotheses, and like actually solve real people problems versus like solving these problems that you think the world has, which is all that matters in the earliest stages, right? But I think now to your point of me being in the thick of it, um, we've gotten into a couple different programs and accelerators with other nonprofits, and the most recent group has been Fast Forward. We went to the Fast Forward Tech nonprofit accelerator, and it's been beautiful because it's like it's all founders of nonprofits that are also building software. So it's a very niche group of people, and so a lot of the challenges that we're facing. Um, one of us has seen before and it's very relevant. The advice is very curated. And so, I mean, that community has been amazing. But prior to that, I would say it's just like having that network and being in community and reaching out to folks that are at peer orgs. So other founders of similar orgs, reaching out for mentorship or just like going back and forth and kind of jamming on things as peers has been really helpful just to like because we're all going through the same thing. That's what I've
Yeah.
always realized. Like take any categorization of people, like if you just find other people that are going through that are in the same role, they're probably facing the same challenges as you. And you just have that breath of fresh air when you get to talk.
Oh my goodness. The thing that's screaming out to me is like
Mhm.
community.
Yeah. That's all we do at ColorStack. So that's my big thing, man.
Man, like when I think about the vision for when I thought about the vision for the
Yeah.
podcast and
Mhm.
micro moments of benefit and nuggets that I wanted
Mhm.
people to be able to take away,
Mhm.
I want a person who has a goal or has a dream who
Mhm.
maybe they don't know how they can get there. Maybe they don't know if they have what they need to get there. It could be
Yeah.
imposter syndrome. It can just be doubt. All of these
Yeah.
things to hear, I think I want to be an entrepreneur one day. I think I want
Mhm.
to found a nonprofit. I think I
Yeah.
wanna be a CEO.
Mhm.
I don't know if I'm cut out for it. I don't know if I'm smart enough. I don't know if
Mhm.
the idea is good enough. And for you to
Yeah.
say one of the biggest assets that a person could use to qualify if
Mhm.
they have what it takes, you of course have the hard work and all that stuff, but
Yeah.
if you're thinking about it, you likely have it, but it's community.
Yep.
If a person can say, I feel like I have a good idea. I just don't know if I can be successful in establishing something. A really nice, what could hopefully be low hanging fruit is do you have
Yeah.
community? If
Mhm.
you have community, maybe that's your opportunity to have those people who you can practice your sales pitches
Yep.
to, you know?
Yep.
So I
Yep.
think it's really beautiful for you to call that out, man. And I think in reflecting on your journey, which I feel just as you've answered so many questions, you've really shed
Mhm.
light into your journey and those experiences. When you do
Mhm.
think back and have those deeper reflections, what advice have you identified of if I knew then what I know now, this is maybe number one on the list of things that I would go back and give myself advice. And this can be regarding your professional journey, This can be in
Mhm.
life, whatever feels top of mind. Of what advice do you think would have better prepared you for all that
Mhm.
you have ventured to achieve and spend your days doing up until now?
It's a really good question. I think one of the biggest things, if not the biggest theme, is that, at first, not only a first time founder, but as a young founder, right, coming right out of college, um, all of the people that I was working with were all older, more seasoned, and you can take your stakeholder, funders, board members, and even employees, like everybody but the students who were older than me. And so I think it was very tough at first to find my own voice and find my own conviction in like what I know when you're, a young person as a CEO, but working with all these adults where you're like, oh,
Mhm.
whatever they say is probably right, you know?
Yeah.
So I kind of just got thrown around in my head, like just thrown around in terms of like what I thought to be true because I keep following any new conversation I had. I was like, oh, this person's right. Oh, actually, wait, no, this person's right. And like,
Mhm.
I just kept going with the wind there. And so I think I typically don't have too many regrets as, just generally, but like one thing that I think would have accelerated some of our growth and also just like prevented some of the challenges that I dealt with personally and also just as an org in general is if I had more conviction in my voice earlier and didn't by default just listen to whatever other people were telling me because they were older and more experienced. Just finding my own voice and finding my own conviction that, even though I'm young and still learning and trying to figure all things out, most of those people are also trying to do the same. And nobody knows everything. So taking all that data as like um as context to my own ultimate
Yeah.
decision.
Hey, that middle school dream of being an entertainer slash
Mhm.
rapper might need to tap back in because you dropped some bars. Dropped some bars there for sure.
Oh man,
I love that, and
appreciate it, man. Yeah.
I also can identify with that same sentiment. When you're
Mhm.
passionate about learning and you're super humble
Mhm.
and you're hungry to stand on the shoulders of other giants, people who are more experienced, who likely had bumps and bruises themselves, just out of
Mhm.
respect and out of gratitude for the opportunity you have,
Mhm.
at least me speaking from my vantage point, that is what leads and has led to a lot of defaulting to other perspectives and lacking that
True.
conviction.
Yeah.
And I think it's super empowering to you kind of got to go through something to see
Mhm.
how your own experiences validate your perspective. And it takes you a long time to have the courage and it takes the right mentors and people in your corner to be transparent enough to
Yeah.
share. I may
Yep.
be 55, but I'm still figuring it out too. And
Right.
I think that really helps us as young people feel a lot more empowered if you're more conditioned or you're naturally wired in a way to, you're older than me. So I naturally am going to, bow my head, pay my
Mhm.
respect, and
Yeah.
also default to letting you lead me along the way. But I
Right.
think it's really empowering when you have that one transparency from others, and two, you start experiencing some life yourself. You
Yeah.
start really finding your voice more. You start learning certain lessons, and some of it is you have to have faith and belief in yourself.
For
If you
sure.
have
Yeah.
a certain level of conviction, certain level of passion, if you have the guardrails to just do your best and show up as yourself, and you feel that your voice is coming from the right place and you're doing your due
Mhm.
diligence, sometimes it is a leap of faith for young people to be convicted, right? It's a lot
Yeah.
easier for an older person to be convicted if they feel like they have a lot more
Exactly.
life data. But if you're
Yeah.
young and you're
Exactly.
convicted, it's a little bit more of a gamble. So
Yep.
I think that's amazing advice. And I think it really displays what you've been through a bit. And I think it's going to help so many people to hear that
For
because
sure.
I identify it, and I'm glad that I heard that from you as well.
Yeah. No, 100%.
I love it. Well, we have our final segment here. Final
Mhm.
segment on the pod. It's called the three piece, man. So
All
you're
right.
in
Let's
New
do it.
York. It's a lot of culture there. It seems like a food capital, melting pot, hot spot, however you want to call it. And I'm sure there are three pieces of
Yeah.
every type of food you can get, man. And I want a three-piece
Yeah.
from you, which is not food,
Okay.
of course, but it's a three-piece from you on your career so
Mhm.
far. What are three words you would use to describe your career journey thus far?
Interesting. Um,
And you can use hyphens if you need them.
First word is definitely accelerated.
Okay.
Um, Second word is fun. And the third word, challenging.
What a smile.
What is because I love a good challenge.
Oh,
Yep.
man. That's awesome. I love that. Challenging with a smile. Yeah, I could tell.
Yep.
I could tell you like challenges for sure.
It's
He's like,
unhealthy
boy,
relationship.
yeah, 100%. You got everything,
Yeah.
everything you wanted. You've been getting over
Yeah.
the years,
For
challenge
sure.
after challenge.
Yeah.
No, that's dope. That's dope. That's really cool to hear that, man. I'm really interested also, those three words you use to describe your career journey thus far.
Mhm.
When you're thinking about what's next, when you
Yeah.
think about what you've been through, sometimes it helps you have a clear vision for what you want to go through next. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's
For
like
sure.
challenging. I don't think I really want that going forward.
Yeah.
Or it's like
Exactly. Exactly.
challenging. Let's
Yeah.
keep this going. Let's find a new challenge. Let's make sure I'm in a
Right.
position to keep experiencing some of these experiences, like characteristics of my journey.
Yeah.
Where do you see yourself in a year or two?
Yeah. I think the easiest way to summarize it, and I thought about this a lot this year, is I do want to become a CEO. Like I really want to be a CEO. Like I have the title, but like at that point, a year or two from now, like and there's like ways that I would, measure that for myself in terms of what that looks like. But basically, I want to operate. I want ColorStack to have, you know, more CEO and less founder, or at least the right balance of the two. Right. I think
Mhm.
that's the key for me. And then I think it'll also force me to realize if I want it or not. Like if I can do it really well, I would also in that know if I enjoy doing it or if I don't. Like if I can get to
Mhm.
that point where I'm really operating um like a high performing CEO, then I would know if it's for me or not, and that would be a good place to be in as well. Just having that kind of conviction and closure. Um, that's like professional. I think personal. Um, I just got married this year. I was telling you before we got on the call. Um, for sure. So that'll be like 1 to 2 years in. And so I think just having like a regular life routine of, people that we're in community with and a good amount of travel under our belt by then and just, some sort of stability in the personal life because this is all new. That would be great as well.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I love that. I appreciate you sharing that. Man,
Of
I
course.
really appreciate you coming by and stopping by the pod, man. I know
For
we're
sure. Thanks for
getting
having
ready to
me.
close and, have to knock out last couple questions for you, but this has been
Yeah.
nothing but a joy on my end. So I appreciate
I
you
had
so
fun.
much. And, you've poured so much into the audience, into the listeners and the viewers. I always love to provide space for people to pour back into you and be
Mhm.
connected to you with all the amazing activities you have going on and being able to kind of watch you grow and watch you continue to serve as an inspiration.
Yeah.
What else could you share that you have going on right now or have on the horizon?
Yeah, for sure. So one thing that any listener can do is going to our website and signing up for our Friends of ColorStack newsletter. That's a monthly email with just kind of like student wins, success stories, and things that we have going on. It really keeps you in the fold of what's happening at ColorStack. But specifically, one thing that is live. And we want to share as widely as possible as our impact report. So we have our second annual impact report that we recently launched, and that is going to share, all the things that we accomplished for the 12 months ending June 30th, 2024. And so there's a lot of information in there that we really want to get out to the world. So check that out.
Yeah, check it out. Check out the link below as well. That link will be in the description. So check out ColorStack, all the amazing work that they're doing. And the last question I have for you, Jehron, is, what else do
Hmm.
you have to leave the people with?
Yeah. Last piece of advice, a nugget of wisdom. I'd say I give people a lot of advice just because I run a community of students, but also other founders reach out to advice. And the through line through all of it is like, you know what you want, you know what the decision is. Um, in absence of someone helping you find conviction in that, I hope that you will find more conviction in your own decisions. Because it's usually I'm pulling the decision out of someone where it's like they already know what they want to do, they just need some confirmation. And so
Mm,
my advice is to, um, over time, try to not need as much confirmation. You should be, you and your own conviction should be all the confirmation you need to do what you want with your career.
Wonderful last word to leave with the people. Awesome. Well, I will definitely be following up with you, man, and
Sounds
following
good.
your journey. I have been thus far extremely proud of you, extremely proud of who you're becoming and the work that you've done and the inspiration you are, and really just
Thank you.
living in the passion of service. I think is just really incredible. It's one of the greatest things that you can leave behind as part of your legacy is impacting the lives of other and how that will create a ripple effect and just compound over time. So you're really touching a lot of lives. So thank you for
Thank you so
that,
much.
and thank you for being here, man. And we'll stay in touch.
Sounds good. Thank you for having me.
Everyone, thank you all so much for listening to the end of this video, watching all the great nuggets of wisdom that Jehron had for you. A founder and CEO of an organization that is serving over 12,000 people and growing. So sign up for that newsletter. I'm about to go sign up for it to see all the wins, to just keep you upright, and a great pick me up and something you can participate in, give, try to get in proximity to the org. I think it'll be extremely beneficial. So shout out to Jehron, everything that he's doing, wishing him nothing but great success. And I hope, as always, that this podcast, this episode poured into you. Hope you learned something new. Hope you were inspired. If you know anyone who can benefit from watching the episode or listening in, send it over to them. If you're not a video YouTube person, hey, we got the audio version. Go check out Spotify, Amazon, Apple, whatever you guys have, wherever you get your podcasts, as all the more popular podcasts say. So stay happy, stay blessed. Peace, guys.